Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Whole Magazine with your host, Brandon Cox.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode 41 of The Whole Mag. I'm joined here by the usual suspects, really, at this point. We have Marcus.
Hello, how you doing?
How are you doing?
Wonderful.
Good.
I asked how
I'm
you
glad
were
to hear
doing
it.
as well.
And you heard him with the intro, or did you? Is he here? I don't know. I haven't sampled his voice yet. Here we have Walker.
What's up?
Now, do you even know if that's real? It's coming, folks. I will at one point press a button and your voice will come up, and then you'll be sitting there too, being like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, just my
that'd be
like
so good.
default replies.
Yeah, that'd be so good. Oh, and
gonna
the
be
big
great.
reveal at the end will be like, "Yeah, he's never been. He
can
hasn't
you-
been here the entire
Can you
time."
purposely put the one that says "I want to kill Russians"?
Oh yeah, dude, that's gonna be on number.
I
I will
was
literally
so
replicate that
drunk.
one episode, and it's just every comment somebody makes is like, "I just want to kill Russians."
Yeah, just I was
That's
way
why I
too
kill
drunk.
Russians.
That's my defense for that.
But thank you all so much for joining us on
one.
this.
Like episode 13, which is now private, I was too drunk to consent.
Yeah, welcome to episode 41. But of course, as usual, we have our alcohol review.
Play the engineered sound.
Mm.
He recorded that in an apartment in Lakewood, Washington.
With Hayes, the OG. Oh,
And Hayes,
They miss him.
did you tell Hayes we were doing this other than in the
oh
chat?
shoot! Let me go live on the Discord.
You can go live on the Discord.
Let me go do that.
You just gotta
yeah.
call him right now and see if he's not at work.
Do it. Do it.
Let me go live.
He'll out of anybody, he would most likely answer your phone if you called.
Probably. So we were roommates, so
We were
we've got an
roommates.
extra an extra bond. You know, we shared a washing machine.
That's deep.
I'm gonna read the bottle for the alcohol review that we have. The front of it says product of Italy. Stella Rosa.
That's gonna go away for a second.
Have you considered committing Sudoku? Stella Rosa, tropical passion flavored brandy, 35% alcohol by volume or 70 proof. It's a product of Italy, a small batch from the Riboli Family Spirits Company. There's a nice little seal on top that says Stella Rosa, Riboli Family. And the back of the bottle says small batch production, flavored brandy, crafted in small batches. Stella Rosa Tropical Passion is produced in the northern Italian foothills, infused with natural flavors including mango and passion fruit. Serve it on the rocks or mix it in a cocktail to enjoy its unique taste. Savor and celebrate are restricted,
It says celebrate.
but that's like it's got the little R with a circle.
Oh, it's their trademark.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Or rights reserved or whatever the fuck the R means. Every moment. Celebrate every moment. We're not sponsored. This is fair use review. So
Total Wine sponsorship would be awesome.
That'd be wild. Anyway, here we go.
I love Total Wine. Great store.
Yeah, brandy. There she is.
Definitely hits the passion fruit, both on
Oh,
the
yeah.
nose
Yeah.
and up front.
It's a passion fruit brandy.
Other than that, it's
great.
There's a little bit of spice there from the alcohol, but it's
It's overall just
It's
very smooth.
she just drifts away, man. She just drifts away.
You could sip this by itself, I think,
Oh,
on the
yeah, I
rocks
mean-
like they.
That's what I usually do with this, or I usually mix this with some kind of like a light juice. Nothing too strong. The wife likes putting
Oh,
this
that's
with a like apple juice, like a light apple juice.
I'll just try
Which
to.
is okay.
That would be good. Yeah.
And you bought this bottle, Marcus. How much is it?
It was around $23, I believe.
So that's
Not bad for
that's
brandy.
very
at all.
affordable.
For brandy.
What
affordable.
about standard brandy?
mean,
stuff?
Well,
Brandy.
Stella Rosa is typically one that you find that is actually a wine company. Like most of their products are wine.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's
brandy's
just
actually pretty
adding
nice.
one more step to the process
yeah.
of winemaking.
I just poured it over ice, and it's a lot better.
Wow.
Actually, over ice.
and
It's
there
way,
we go.
It's way better over ice, actually.
Mm. Stella Rosa.
Get it.
There she is.
Get some more cups with ice then.
And I guess that's
Well,
it for the
Yeah, for the
alcohol review.
review, I believe that's all.
Um,
You got it.
I guess we're plugging the
Weird.
website. So if you go to the whole mag, no spaces, of course, because it's a URL. Caps don't matter. Thewholemag.com. There is a blog where occasionally Brandon writes articles or posts rants. There's also the sticker shop. Right now, I think we only have 2 versions of the sticker.
Yeah.
But if you click on the hamburger on the website itself, there's a bunch of drop down stuff, and one of those is the shop,
Yep.
which would support basically the hobby, and we did end up becoming a general partnership, so support the business.
Yep. Support us by purchasing a sticker and get some nice merch that eventually comes down the line. I do believe we still have that promotion. So first 10 customers will receive an exclusive 15% off coupon that does not expire and can be used
And you sent
forever.
You sent
And-
that sticker to Tyler, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, he
So,
has
all
the
right.
sticker and he also has his coupon code.
Are we still working on the designs, the other designs?
Yeah,
designs for...
we'll probably be doing those kind of separately. We do have some designs planned in the future. So yeah,
Some
those
nice
will
gun
be,
memes, a little bit of,
those will be coming down
a little
the
bit of humor.
pipeline. Yes, gun.
even though we're not a
memes.
very gun centric
Oh.
channel with the gun centric.
I gotta work on those. I got more that I would like to share. with you.
Looks like our first segment up on the docket is you've got a video for us, or an audio, I guess, for the listeners to listen to.
I do. It's a doozy. So I think everyone is familiar with this sort of gentleman who is now pretty pervasive on the internet. He's kind of made a name for himself. He has the habit of being on live on TikTok and just goes to restaurants and basically waits to get misgendered. This man thinks he's a woman, so he dresses kind of the part. He has long hair, he wears lipstick and wears women clothing. But still kind of sounds like I do. We're gonna have some audio here that we're gonna listen to just for a little bit. The whole thing is about like a minute and some odd long, but here we go.
Like he's having a nice piece. Yeah, it's okay. It's all good.
But it was not all good.
I just want to make a point of
I
the
use she, her
like it's their
pronouns,
Twitter
I'm not sir.
bio. She,
Yeah,
her.
like it's like a knife in the heart. I did specifically ask ahead of time not to be called sir. Yeah, I'm just gonna go. Okay, the Sweetwater starts at okay. Not.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's just always like a knife. It always hurts every single.
Okay, so that's enough.
Does
of
he
that.
have video of him asking prior to?
No, he doesn't.
Oh,
I mean, these are just
crazy.
clips and snippets that he is.
I mean, I'm willing
No,
to
no,
believe that they
he-
did.
no, he made a compilation of this. This is from his TikTok. This is a compilation of all of his. Apparently, it's like a knife in the heart every time. And one thing that people love to do, if it's truly, truly a problem, is they like to relive it over and over again. And so they make compilations of it to then immortalize it and have it always be available to thus hurt them even more. Yeah, so this guy's kind of whole thing is he will just go on TikTok live and people are sending him probably thousands of dollars every single time he does this because it's the worst thing ever is getting misgendered. And it's crazy. It's absolutely psychopathic, narcissistic behavior when you think that you are literally so important. These waiters and waitresses have dozens of other people to be worrying about and dozens of other people on their mind right now. And because you have this mental illness, they have to tiptoe around you and make sure that they're doing extra work. No, go to hell. You're not that important. I'm sorry that all your TikTok people are telling you that you're super important. They've been lying to you. You're just like everyone else, but you're part of that 1% who has been indulged in with their mental illnesses, and you're making life worse for everybody.
The worst part for a lot of that is for when going to stores or restaurants and all these things is that the mentality of the customer is always right allows the people to
Yeah, it's bullshit.
not even be able to argue back or do anything about it because it's just like, oh well, I'm sorry.
I mean,
Yeah.
this
And-
first clip. Listen.
Looks like he's having a nice piece.
She, her.
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay. It's all good.
it's okay.
But it was not.
But it
all good.
was not. Didn't even have the gumption. And of course, you know what what he did? He went to go talk to the manager. So didn't even have the gumption and like to be like, no.
Does the guy in the
Oh,
background
it's okay,
that he's
it's
talking
okay.
with him say sorry there? Because I
Yeah.
feel like I hear it for
Yeah.
a split second when he apologizes.
Yeah, he does apologize.
Nice piece.
She, her.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all good.
But
Okay,
it was
sorry.
Like,
not.
he like
Obvi-
starts to say sorry, and
yeah,
then the
this
guy's
guy
like, "It's okay."
this guy is obviously English is probably a second language, so he's trying to communicate. And and this guy is literally in a crop top. It's just hilarious. This is just character. It's LARPing. They're just LARPing as women. It's hilarious. And so that concludes that guy. We just had to talk about that.
I think that's honestly stupid.
Diving into some brain organoids.
This is a fun thing that I just found out about.
You know, if Hayes were here, he would hate everything about this.
Oh yeah.
He would absolutely not be happy with brain organoids and what they are. Giving you guys a crash course on brain organoids. These are artificially grown in vitro, basically brain tissue. They're neurons. They can develop. They recently some organoids has developed eyes, which can be used to detect light.
Well, eyes / sensory organs to light.
Yeah,
in a
well, that's
sense,
what
yeah.
that's what we call eyes. The uses for this kind of stuff is largely R&D. It seems so. Like we're talking like drug testing, disease studying, seeing how Alzheimer's really affects the brain. Also, apparently, some uses with transplantation. Because this uses a certain type of stem cell that can be harvested from apparently the eventual host, it allows you to basically implant it with zero. It's basically immunologically silent, which is phenomenal, which you do not get for a lot of implants.
And the other thing off there was, I don't know if you remember out the video I sent you about it, was them talking about bioengineered or AI bioengineered technology,
Yeah.
where using a lab grown brain as a brain to be connected to a
Yeah.
machine.
It's teaching
And, like,
AI
yeah.
exactly how the brain functions, which is kind of crazy. So it's also kind of hoping to at one point bridge the gap between AI and the actual way the human brain works, because there's a lot of things that the human brain can do that AI really really struggles with, i.e. like things like obviously sarcasm. You can't really be sarcastic to a computer. It just will give you the answer that
Yeah.
you said initially. So yeah, very interesting stuff.
Which is along those lines of one of the previous podcasts about we were talking about the connecting the what was it? We were talking about one of the machines that can splice and like connect into like the brain stem.
Oh, the Neuralink.
Yeah, Neuralink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're getting to the point of being able to just create a bioengineered AI where it's almost just
No.
human.
I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, unless you count cloning.
No. I feel like cloning's a different subject here.
I mean, right now it's just it.
So you're talking about
The-
just making a biological computer, and I'm not.
Yeah, that's truly what the organelles are, or the organoids rather. They're just these biological computers. But we also have another topic actually talking about real biological computers in a second, which are really interesting. But Elon Musk is like really stirring the shit pot on the internet, and I fucking love it. It is so good, and it's great because one, nobody can touch him. He's virtually untouchable.
That's what happens when you're a billionaire.
Yeah,
It doesn't
and
matter.
he doesn't give a shit. And he's like, "Fuck around and find out." And we have to listen because it's phenomenal.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Phenomenal. Why is that so good? Because
I like the
si-
whatever Elon has done, and I don't care how Twitter goes, like, because I don't invest in Twitter. Whatever happens to it, the funniest thing is that it is no longer the liberal safe space that it was.
yeah,
And if it gets destroyed and goes completely bankrupt, I'll also still be happy.
that's kind of his sentiment. That's also his opinion. He's like, I don't care. And this is the thing, is you're pretty much right on the money, because Twitter now it's called X, but before Twitter was this cesspit of liberal talking points. That's where Republicans and conservatives were getting censored the most. You couldn't say certain things based on statistic and fact. You just couldn't say it because Twitter would censor you because they have to keep the advertisers. And so we have our if you don't know already, our media is controlled by corporations who, by pulling advertising from social media, they basically can control what is said and what's not said. And so Elon Musk is pointing this out. I mean, if you didn't know that, wake the fuck up. But Elon Musk is pointing this out even heavier. There's a list of over 100 companies who are boycotting advertising on X because Elon Musk is just allowing this public forum to be a public forum. And they're calling him an anti-Semite. They're calling him all these things with no backing at all. It's just the fact that these corporations don't like that he's allowing people to say things. And so you get Elon Musk being like, if you're going to try and blackmail me to change how I'm operating my company with money, you can go fuck yourself. Beautifully. Like, go fuck yourself. He calls out Bob in the audience, the director or CEO of Disney, who is the largest media company in the world, and says, Bob, you're out there in the audience? Yeah. So fucking good, because Disney throws their weight around a lot with advertising and says, oh, you better stop. You better hush this up or we'll pull advertising. And a lot of the times companies do. But when you are Elon Musk and you have Tesla and you have X and you have Starlink and you have all these things in SpaceX, you're fine. You can do what you want and throw your weight back at them. And then you'll see as the whole news media, which is funny because the biggest news media thing that had covered it, a news outlet covered it, was owned by Disney. And so there was kind of a conflict of interest. They're not being very objective, calling Elon Musk a alleged anti-Semite. Hilarious shit. Love it. That was the greatest thing I've seen so far. What a fucking time. Delicious. Scientists have created nanobots, nanoscale robots made of DNA, which can rapidly self-replicate exponentially.
Oh, cool. It's the gray goo ending.
Yeah. In sci-fi, there's this thing, if we develop something that can replicate based off of DNA, then it can get out of control and basically convert all the DNA in the world to gray goo. Apocalyptic sci-fi.
It's not necessarily that it can convert DNA. It's that it converts basically all carbon or like
organic matter,
because it'll be able to take apart everything. So even like the ground, because
well, not ground, but the living organisms in the ground. And
a lot of the things in the ground they have carbon in them, but basically the fact that you'd be able to take apart all these molecules and use them as building blocks to build more of yourself. So then it just is a gray goo that eats the whole planet.
So New York University, where Feng Zhao and his colleagues are working on creating tiny little robots, which are basically only 100 nanometers across, which use 4 strands of DNA. They're held in a solution of DNA, basically strand raw materials, which is what they build themselves out of. They're able to arrange these components onto themselves and basically create copies, which then break off. These nanobots have the capability to create enzymes or proteins, which they can deliver to cells directly without the actual cell needing the DNA itself, which is awesome. Researchers also point out that the actual nanobots themselves are built using also gold nanorods, which are basically a requirement, as well as precise heating and cooling cycles and exposure to UV light. The UV is actually what's used to permanently weld these DNA structures that these nanobots basically make. And then the heat is what is used to release them from the quote-unquote parent.
Interesting.
And so the researchers said this kind of thing, this very strict set of processes and requirements is what kind of rules out that whole gray goo situation, because it requires such precise. It needs gold nanorods. It needs these precise heating and cooling cycles, and it needs a source of UV at the right times. Otherwise, the process doesn't work. Yeah, very cool.
What's the
very
application?
Cool stuff. Being able to manufacture like pharmaceuticals directly to the place where it's needed in the body, utilizing resources that's around. So basically, drug manufacturing and medication application to certain parts of the body.
So what's the point of manufacturing it inside the body when you can make? Because I know that Cubane synthesis is big in pharmaceuticals right now.
I guess the benefit of what these researchers are going for is that it can be in location where it's needed, and it's just in the body. So, like, if you need pain medication to a certain part of your body, the nanobots will be there and just manufacturing the drug that you need, and then just creates it right in spot. Of course, I think there has been other.
They just eat you.
Yeah, they just, which is kind of interesting if you think about that. Yeah, but pretty interesting possibilities as far as what these nanobots are able to do. We have to talk about the current thunderstorm. Very often do people not really keep track of the Republican primaries. But here we have Vivek Ramaswamy mopping up, quote unquote,
Every
these.
time a Republican is not the president and there's an election cycle, they're paying attention to the primaries.
Yeah, well, not a lot of people, but I think this is
Probably
what causing a
most
lot of
Republicans.
people.
There was no reason to watch
This is what's
Republican
causing a lot of
debates.
people to
The
pay
vet comes
attention.
out with truth bombs so shocking that the moderators don't know what to
This is Luke David
I
Johnson.
think the
by the way.
real enemy is not Donald Trump. It's not even Joe Biden. It is the deep state that at least Donald Trump attempted to take on. And if you want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I the only person on this stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the government lied to us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11? That the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform? That the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech? That the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment that actually put up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that they knew was false. There's a reason
love
why
them
I'm
trying
the
to
only
cut him off.
person
That'll
on
do
the
it,
stage
sir.
who can
Thank
say
you.
these things. That's what it's going to take, not people who are licking his boots one time and now Monday morning quarterbacking and criticizing him when it's convenient.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this has kind of been, there's a lot of the same old sort of Republican talking points that have been developing for the past couple of years. But I do remember
I would say
in
those are
this
same old Republican talking
and the
points. I would say
same-
that's more fringe right. That you're
no, most conservatives are
that's
are
like
do the-
almost QAnon
Well,
stuff.
no, the January 6th inside job, that's not recent. That's new. But the whole like, oh, the election's being stolen, those are very much normal conservative talking points. There has been a clip in there of Vivek going after Nikki Haley, which is good. Nikki Haley is kind of being a bit of a fucking squish, where she is just basically, and her opinion about abortion is that, oh, the government shouldn't have anything to do with that. So yeah, go ahead and murder your third trimester babies. So Nikki Haley is not looking too good as far as the election polls are going. Donald Trump, of course, is still like holding really fucking strong. Ron DeSantis,
Go fucking wonder.
Ron DeSantis, is still kind of second. There hasn't been a lot of movement. And then Vivek, I didn't see the results after this debate. I don't know if that really hurt his numbers because he was really out here in this last.
I don't know if that would have hurt his numbers.
He was really out here. Well, I will tell you this: I don't think a lot of the conservative voting base would be choosing Vivek Ramaswamy. He's just too new. He is kind of coming out here. He's saying a lot of good things, but he's still kind of it's still interesting because he's part of the same crowd. He's from Big Pharma. He has a lot of these things from his background that are a little bit like, we don't really like that.
I kind of feel like the way he states this and the way that he is going off there is almost that he's supporting Trump in the way, and like the way he's just basically like they tried taking it for Trump, like, you know, he at least tried fighting and everything like that. And I was like,
if you look at how they're playing it, Ron DeSantis has been playing the whole "I'm the Trump without the Trump" baggage. That's not really helping him too much in the polls when he's doing that kind of whole bit. He just needs to run. I'm the governor of Florida. Look at all the shit I've done. Let's go from here. Like, and he should stick with that. He shouldn't do anything more than that, in my opinion. But you know, he's gonna do what he wants. It's fine.
Listen, anyone from
but it's kind of
Florida
hilarious.
is,
Trump doesn't show up to any of these debates, and he's still leading in the polls. Because I've been telling people this, and Hayes always said I was wrong, but the silent majority is speaking right now. They're sick and tired of the bullshit. They saw what Biden did with the economy, with the world, and they're done. They hopefully after this, it's going to be really fucking hard for another Democrat to get elected. Hopefully, but they're aware now. Like, give us back Trump. Give us back. This is also the first time that a president is running for re-election non-continuously. Right. This is the first time that a president had not done 2 successive terms.
He's not incumbent.
Yes, he is. It's kind of it's crazy.
interesting.
It's
If
neat.
Vivek thinks that the election was stolen in 2020, what's the point of running if the Democratic Party can just steal it again?
That's a good point. That's why I think that basically going off of that as a talking point is kind of moot. Again, that is a very good point of the corruption that is going on. I think it's fair to kind of point out media's incredible biases. But when you're talking about a presidential election, like a primary nomination, sort of you shouldn't dissuade people from thinking that their vote will actually affect change. You want people to say like, hey, if you want this to change, vote for me. You don't want to add all the shit why it's going to be almost impossible for shit to change.
Yeah, but it's almost implied if he believes that the 2020 election was stolen. Like, literally what stops them from stealing it again?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if that's true of our election system, what point is there in the government?
I think one of the things that I've noticed recently about people is that people are starting to see. I wanted to sit here and throw our president under the bus, but I honestly don't care. But a lot of people have seen that Biden isn't doing shit, and he's just being micromanaged by the people behind him because he's senile and isn't able to do shit.
He's not there. He is literally just a puppet. He is just wandering around aimlessly. He doesn't know what he's doing half the time. He's barely ambulatory. He just kind of meanders around.
Have you seen the one where he
sort of
was
does
like
stuff?
There was people talking about it where he came out to a podium and he was going to go talk and he saw a little girl and he's like just staring at her.
I did. There was a clip of him talking to a little girl, which is kind of hit or miss. It could be interpreted both ways, as being incredibly creepy or just being like an old grandpa dude.
Yeah.
So there was that clip, but at any rate,
again, I think he's a senile old man, and that it should just come out of the fact that he's not doing shit.
No,
and that
everyone knows that. That's why Trump is winning in the polls, and he's not even doing shit. That's just how it is. Like they're aware. They're like, take me back to the Trump time. Take me back to the Trump time. It's great. Going back to, I believe, episode 40, we talked about the DSOC, the Deep Space Optical Communications.
Yes.
Where we had a successful laser communications from 10 million miles away, which is basically at most maybe like Mars-ish orbit, depending on the time, which was awesome. Very big, nice leap for that mission. But
it's like fiber optic, but without the fiber.
We also mentioned the coolness where like the laser communication is usually from, the moon and lower orbit. So like within 240,000 miles.
Yeah.
And we've used lasers.
I think Starlink is supposed to crosstalk between their satellites with lasers.
Yeah, they do. I believe either infrared or like Ka or Ku. I forget. I mean, you can do laser communication.
I have a Starlink if anybody wants to buy it.
It's technically Maser if it's a microwave.
I have one. Like I want to sell it because I don't use it anymore. But
that's funny. You just have a Starlink.
Yeah. Do you want it?
That's magical. No,
it doesn't need it.
Yeah. But
what?
And I think I mentioned in episode 40 the idea of Starshot and Starlight. Or if I haven't, I was talking to coworkers about it.
Breakthrough Starshot or
it was just how are we going to possibly do interstellar travel or
so breakthrough
probing
Starshot.
I
think
think with these things.
One of the cool ideas is you find a good candidate planet and you launch telescopes towards a specific point in space where you can use the gravity of the sun as a lens and essentially just make a huge telescope with the whole solar system.
I forget the name of that. Yeah, it's a very good idea. And you do the similar thing with a solar shield as well, and then you find that focal point where your that gravitational lensing actually works.
You send several so you can scan it from different times.
It's a very cool idea.
Hypothetically, you could scan the whole thing, and there's algorithms already that are capable of turning Einstein rings into probably real pictures of what
nice
that looks
images.
like, which they've tested on, like basically doing an Einstein ring effect and giving that to the AI, and it turns it back to the original image. So there's basically you could find if there's clouds, is it blue because of an ocean? Is there land masses? Possibly even have enough resolution to see lights on the dark side if there's life there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of interesting
civilization.
concepts that are in the works, and one of those being Starlight and Starshot. giving the rundown is basically we're taking hundreds, if not thousands, of these basically probes, which are little tiny solar cells, and because technology has evolved in the way that it has, where we have all of the sophisticated instruments like magnetometers and infrared cameras and all this shit into a single tiny little chip onto the solar cell, and it weighs about a gram, and then we blast it with a fuck ton of laser light from a ground-based station. We could possibly accelerate those to,
I don't know if it was
is what
if
they
the
said
whole space-
conceptually.
you mean the solar shield itself weighs a gram, or the spaceship? Because or
The whole package itself, the solar shield and the actual
I
chip
doubt
itself.
that the spacecraft bus itself is going to be that small, because there's no way it's going to be able to transmit anything back to us.
There's a bunch of problems with this. Yeah. My
Uh,
first question was like, okay, communications.
Like you could make a big laser basically
Here's the
and
the
send
th-
it
the
over there on a solar
thing.
sail, and eventually it might get up very fast. You also got to remember the speeds
So-
involved here.
So the researchers.
How long? When was Voyager launch? And like just a couple years ago, they really exited what
Voyager,
they would consider the
yeah,
sun's sphere of
they're-
influence.
They're gone. Well, I mean, I think no, Voyager is still on the Oort cloud. So
no. They've hit the point where the pressure from the solar radiation is like ending, and it's now the pressure from cosmic radiation from the galaxy.
Oh, they're an interstellar medium.
Yeah, so they're in interstellar space, but it's taken them decades to get there, and they're some of the fastest objects
Yeah,
outside of
Voyager 1 still remains the fastest
outside
man-made
of
object.
uh
You know, manhole
currently yes, but
Or the
speed-
nuclear manhole cover, yeah.
I don't know if it did get that fast, but the current speed record, because it's not currently going that fast, but the current speed record is the Parker Solar Probe, I believe, because of how close it got to the sun.
On
But it's not legitimately right.
perihelion.
I don't think it's right now going faster than Voyager. It
On
just
perihelion
did at one point.
it go fast. It's actually cool.
Yeah,
I love the Parker Space Probe.
but it took them so long to get there, and so you can imagine, like, we have
They launched that in 2018.
the solar
The-
probe.
the Parker Space Probe.
I'm
yeah.
talking about
No, I know you're talking about Voyager.
yeah, but it's so hard for us to get up to those speeds. Like, there's mechanical limits to how much fuel we
Well,
can
if you
take
think
out
about
there
it,
and
the amount
how
of
long
gravity
reaction wheels
assists
last, and
the amount of gravity assist that the Voyager 1 had to do to even get to escape velocity, because it didn't just have any like traditional fuel to get up to escape velocity, solar escape velocity nonetheless. So
Yeah.
you know, it was years and years of gravity assist upon gravity assist to get up to those crazy speeds. But you know, if the scientists who did this research paper are basically saying that if we used they had either manned missions using solar sails, or as well as these, you know, Starshot and Starlight things. But they want to aim for about 10 to 20% the speed of light with these little probe things, right? In this research paper, the issue was coming up about data transmissions at relativistic speeds, because we're starting to really, I mean, GPS satellites have to worry about time
gonna-
dilation now.
gonna redshift into VLF.
Yeah, like there's there's a list of problems. Like one, the internal clocks will be actually thrown off quite a bit because they're going 10 or 20% the speed of light.
I'm sure you
GPS
could-
satellites do that. There's also
I'm sure you could.
no, you have what
account
methods.
for-
You can
yeah.
GPS satellites do that, but you know, you do have to account for that. That's another problem. But everyone knows, who's in the field at least, telecommunications relies a lot on timing. So timing is very important. Another thing is, like Walker said, the Doppler effect is also a problem. We don't want our signals to basically redshift to the point where they're basically going to be useless for our receiving antennas. Because, like, if I make an antenna expecting some frequency and I'm all the way down below that frequency, kind of useless.
I'm
So
sure, depending on the speed, because I'm not going to do the calculations right now for whatever the Doppler bullshit's going to be, but or even look up how to do that. But if you start an infrared, you're going to have to be going really fast for it to redshift into microwave, and microwave's still usable. So
yeah, the researchers said
hypothetically, you could be transmitting in like gamma.
The researchers basically came to the conclusion that largely crewed missions or non-crewed missions would have to be pretty much self-sufficient. They would have to basically be independent in their own regard, so they have to process all of their movement commands, everything by themselves, which isn't too difficult with a crewed mission, but obviously can be kind of maybe problematic for remote missions.
I don't know. We have that kind of technology
said that-
in anti-shipping missiles today.
Yeah.
Where like target processing and flight paths can be changed by a neural net essentially on the missile itself. But if you give it sensors, it could also be moving fast enough or not have the fuel or not have the maneuverability for it to even matter, basically. Like,
They said at certain points that communication could just become impossible because of all the problems that were described. So that's why they were like, basically, we should design them with self-sufficiency in mind.
I'm just waiting for our breakthrough Starshot to get there and it's seen as an act of war by like the intergalactic community.
That would be spicy. What would we do? Do we just like say hi? Or be like,
Just-
who should I
Just start strapping nukes to it. It's
Just-
going to take 300 years for them to get there, but 300 years, someone's having a bad day.
Yeah, so 300 years. You just wait. You just wait.
The
My
war
gr-
ends, and then like 2 years later, a random fucking nuke.
No, we're, like,
disappears.
just
My
genocided.
great grandchildren are gonna laugh.
We're just genocided by the aliens, but then, there's 200 nuclear warheads
just heading
going towards
somewhere.
it. Yeah.
And they're angry. And it's been 200 years and they're horny. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
it's-
if the warheads even have a half-life to the point where they'd be
Oh yeah, right.
like usable.
I
at
mean,
that
I think
point.
plutonium has a pretty nice half-life.
Well,
I
there's-
think 300 years isn't that too problematic.
You could make a plutonium warhead, but there's like a lot when it gets into fusion weapons, like there's a lot of things that decay faster, like tritium or other things in there.
More angry, more spicier metals.
Spicy.
Because half-life is important. Less half-life,
Just
more
use-
radioactive.
Just use uranium, but make it like the literally like black powder activated, like the little boy,
Gun
or whatever
type?
it was called. Yeah, the gun type,
Gun type. Oh yeah,
and like just 3,000 of those.
just 3.
Some of them are gonna work,
Some of them. That's why they're launching hundreds and thousands of those
Even-
tiny probes.
even if it's 10%. You get 300 of those things. That's revenge. That's a nuclear winter right there.
That. Yeah. Did you guys bring anything? To talk about?
Me?
And I've been on leave
let's
for the last
see.
2 weeks. I don't
Yeah,
look at
you had
anything.
we got through the news. You had your wedding, your little wedding ceremony.
I mean, my second wedding ceremony technically, but to the same person
Yeah.
within the same year.
It's best. Same person, by the way. Same
Yeah,
person.
I loved her so much. I married her twice. But yeah, so we kind of eloped earlier, and then we had a big ceremony for the family, and it was nice.
Yeah, very
And
nice.
we had a little mini honeymoon. And she was like completely like dog sick the entire time. So
It's a shame.
it's cool.
And
At
now
least
you're
I
gonna
got
be
to-
a dad.
I got to feed her chicken soup,
Feed her chicken soup.
and we got a new cat because we walked into a pet
Yeah,
store.
A
What
cat?
did you? Yeah, and then you walk into a pet store, as newlyweds do.
Oh, yeah,
and then all of
absolutely.
a sudden
Just
they
walk
have,
into the pet store and just take home a cat,
and
that's
then they
what we
just
did.
have animals. It's magical. What did you bring? What are you talking about? You
I don't
said
know,
something.
we can talk about my cats.
I mean, we can talk about
Cats.
the fact that you took your wife into a pet store to be able to get a cat.
Like, all right,
or
I'm not gonna
didn't mean to get a cat. Then you walked out with 2 cats. I did the exact fucking
we walked
same
out.
thing.
We already had a cat. We walked out with 1 cat, but yeah, just 2 cats.
Well, I guess I technically I didn't have a dog because the dog just died, and then we got 2
Okay.
cats.
Just murder your dog
Wait.
so you can get a cat.
You want me to tell you that story about my dog dying? Yeah, that's fucked up.
Oh, okay.
No, it honestly really is. But you could sit here and say that I did bring some things
I was
because of the list.
Oh
of
yeah,
stuff.
the
Like,
audio clips were basically what you sent me.
No, I sent these to you.
Yeah, I could have talked about some of the gun legislation stuff.
There was that Washington thing, Washington State mag ban.
Didn't also Texas do something
There's
recently?
I don't know what Texas
There
done
was some
recently.
developments
Texas always
on
does
that.
that.
There's developments at the moment. Everything's still in the state court for that, I believe. So
Are we
um,
looking at it going to the Supreme Court?
in like 3 years maybe.
Yeah, figures.
But what will happen faster is the
Blowing smoke at me.
Duncan v.
Okay.
Bonta case in California, which we've talked about, which is still stuck at the point where it's been appealed and there's cases being heard or should be heard by the en blanc panel of the Ninth Circuit, which the Ninth Circuit is not going to probably make a decision that I like on that. And it's probably going to end up going to the Supreme Court. So that'll happen faster. But if it goes to the Ninth Circuit, That's basically it. Just being, and they were to make the right decision based on the Bruin decision of the Supreme Court. That would basically get rid of magazine bans
It would be
in the
amazing.
United States.
Be
But
amazing.
if they make it go to the Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit judges can say, "Look, it wasn't me." Later on in their career, so it doesn't. It's not a stain on their liberal civilian disarmament career.
Crazy.
There's stuff going on in Illinois where they're making somehow even more restrictive gun laws, and that is, I believe, Justice Coney Barrett, Amy Coney Barrett has taken interest in that. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that, but still, that's going to take a while to pan out. But she 100% could bring that to the Supreme Court, and that could be another way to get rid of magazine bans or assault weapon bans. I think it's an assault weapon ban that's being tried, but it could affect both depending on the opinion written at the Supreme Court. But we're going to need to wait a while for any kind of.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that they can pass.
Hey,
they
you're
can
moving to
pass
Tennessee
these-
and I'm moving to Georgia. They don't have.
Yeah. Well, they can pass these unconstitutional laws so fast that cause real irreparable damage to people's businesses and livelihoods.
Oh, yeah.
And then it takes 5-10 years to remove these laws that are eventually deemed unconstitutional, and there's no repercussion.
Yeah, these people
crazy.
just get to go about their careers. It's wild. It's actually it's one of the problems with the system and how it's working. We have people who can just rot in Congress and just be there for decades and do ultimately nothing good and not get voted out. And I think actually there's probably more voter fraud going on in Congress than there has ever been in any presidential election. I just think that's been a thing more often than presidential election fraud, but because I don't know many people who like Nancy Pelosi, and from California, I don't know many people who like most of these Democratic representatives from their states. But it's also how our electoral system works. These metropolises and metropolitan areas are just congregation points for uber density of liberaldom. So
another point on gun legislation is that Washington has come out with new bills. I think a bunch of them ended up dying, but or I might be thinking of like there was federal bills actually. A bunch of them ended up dying. In Washington, though, specifically, now I'm getting my facts straight here. They are trying to introduce a license to buy, basically. Like
That's
you need
hilarious.
to have a class, safety class, to be able to show that you know how to use a firearm safely and stuff like that before you can buy.
Now, shan't you be fooled, folks? It's all in the guise of now. Am I angry at that?
You should be
at face value. Yeah,
because it's about
because
civilian disarmament.
what it is they do this shit all the time. Every state does this. Who doesn't like guns will do this. They institute some sort of bullshit step that you need to do in order to utilize your inalienable right to own a firearm, which is provided to you from our Second Amendment. Okay,
No, it's not provided to you by the Second Amendment. It's provided to you by God. And is protected under the Second Amendment.
So they do this so that way there's so many loopholes or so many hoops that you have to jump through just to exercise your right. So it's not out of the kindness and caring, because if they cared about the kids dying in schools, they would institute armed guards at every school. Because guess what's the greatest counter to a bad guy with a gun? A good guy with a gun. It's simple math. It's worked throughout all of human history. If you're scared of a weapon and there's other people with that weapon, especially guns, even knives, it's hilarious how British people want to comment on the homicides of American citizens due to guns when they're like per capita, they are like the knife stabbing capital of the world. It's incredible. But I think we digress. Marcus.
Well, one of the things I was looking up their gun laws and everything like that. One of the things that I was trying to bring up was that Colorado has a bunch of random shit going on with all their gun laws and all that. I couldn't pinpoint it exactly who it was or even if it's real, but I do know Colorado has a waiting period on their guns and everything like that, which I'm completely okay with. But
You shouldn't be.
Apparently, a simple waiting period is okay. Especially when there's just only 3 days.
I want same day walkout.
There's no waiting period for me to utilize my free speech. There's no waiting period for me to use
I
my-
understand that.
my
I
third
do.
or Fourth
So-
Amendment rights, or
My point is Republicans and conservatives need to stop fucking compromising on shit, because it started with, okay, well, let's transgender 2-year-olds,
Ugh.
and then Republicans go, oh no, that's fucking crazy. It's like, okay, what about 8? Okay, well, that's better, that's fine. No, there should be a
No.
full wholehearted stance. No, you cannot transgender minors at all, no matter the age. 18 and below can't do it.
Absolutely.
So this is what we're talking about, that window shifting constantly to the left, where the Republicans of today, of yesterday, are actually more left leaning than they were yesterday, because the left keeps on going farther and farther and farther, thus shifting the window, because Republicans and conservatives keep on compromising. And so what they should have done is they should have just held firm to their goddamn beliefs, and guess what they would have been now? The far right. That's what they would have been, because
Absolutely.
their viewpoints would have been so damn contrasting to the left, the left, that's where they would be in this window. But no, we're shifting more and more and more. Have wholehearted stance. No, there is no compromise for gun control. Gun control is unconstitutional. It is written as plain English. It shall not be infringed.
now the only thing, and we already have it because everyone says, "Oh, we need universal background checks." Universal background checks are already a thing.
And you know,
We
you know who says that? People who never bought a fucking gun.
So universal background checks for firearm or for purchasing a firearm are already a thing, and I understand that should be a thing because how else? Because it is constitutional and historical. Like at the time that the Constitution was ratified, that they were still restricting people's firearms rights based on whether or not society had deemed them dangerous, i.e., felons, right? So that's fine. You don't want to just sell firearms to felons, but any kind of waiting period, anything where the government is telling you, hey, you have this right technically, which says specifically shall not be infringed, but just wait a little bit. Now, if you have if you have the money and you walk into a Walmart, you should be able to walk out with a flamethrower that same day.
I
Yeah.
don't want to disagree with you, and I completely actually do agree with that.
But
But I
Walmart
still
goes,
don't
"No, we
see a
got a
reason
whole-"
wrong with a wait period for
Because
specific reasons.
any
but
compromise is
The
an
compromise.
infringement.
Any
And
compromise
it is what he's talking about, moving
Any
the window
compromise
left.
is moving the window left. Where at one
you are
point,
right.
now we're gonna have to wait a year,
This is like
or we're gonna have to
textbook
2 years.
This is textbook fascism, where you slightly erode
slowly.
rights from people. You
I
just
get it.
shave off 1,000th of an inch at a time. Eventually, it's all gone.
Eventually, your penis is
Yeah, but-
gone. And now you're a woman.
Well,
they've
now you're just
it's a eunuch.
yeah,
They've
you're,
done-
you're,
gender
They've
fluid.
done this. They've done this since time immemorial. They are actively destroying American culture and society. They are ruining. They don't talk about America. They are destroying American pride and patriotism in
Who's they?
the left. The teachers who are prioritizing transing your children instead of teaching them about their country and appreciating their country. Oh, but America, blah blah blah, this, and this. Okay, yeah, well, luckily you have the right to say that, unlike many countries. So they're destroying.
There's countries who literally you say a word and they're just like, oh, you know what? You go to jail for that.
Yeah, there's countries where if you say something that someone else arbitrarily finds offensive, you go thrown in jail. So, we should be proud of our country. It's no problem to be proud of your country. And it's the left liberals who are telling you that you should be shameful for being proud of your country. But these are the same people who will shout from the rooftops that you should be proud to be black or Mexican or Asian or Indian or Native American. They shout these from the rooftops, but you can't do that because you can't be proud to be American, because they'll insert this glimpse of American history as to why you should be angry. And if you guys haven't been, Thanksgiving just passed by. Plenty of people were getting all pissy about Thanksgiving. People are wanting to change Thanksgiving to a national day of mourning because, how this country was basically, quote unquote, founded. We're talking about colonists. It wasn't even our country first, but it was the interaction between the Native American tribes and the colonists. And the Native Americans who are on this, media saying that it should be an International Day of Mourning, Thanksgiving is always sad, are talking about things that happened like almost 400 4,000 years ago. Almost 400 years
4,000,
ago.
damn.
Are talking about things almost 400 years ago and acting like it's really, really offensive to them. It's incredible. They change everything. Their version of it is that, of course, they always start this with the whole sad piano music or whatever. It's like they don't teach the actual history in schools. It's like, well, when we first encountered, when the colonists first encountered Native Americans, there was the Wampanoag.
You're
tribe.
thinking specifically of Plymouth, and I
Yeah.
believe as long as the original settlers lived in that settlement, there was still a treaty. It was their descendants who ended up breaking it. But Thanksgiving, that whole like feast, and depending on your interpretations of things, because of the harvest feast or whatever, they set off firearms, and then all of the warriors from the Wampanoag tribe show up. Possibly because of the treaty that they had of mutual defense. They're thinking maybe something was going on.
Let's also acknowledge that the Native Americans that complain about Thanksgiving today also want to sell you the idea that Native Americans were just a peace-loving, vibing with nature, hippie commune, that there was never anything bad. It's like, no, since...
I mean, some of them were
since
probably
ever-
genuinely good people, who, especially the people who
Since-
helped out the settlers at Plymouth.
You
But
can say
then
that
you
about a
look
lot
at
of places.
the Sioux, the
Since-
Apache,
since
the
ever,
people doing
there was
crazy shit
intertribal
out
war.
on the plains. Yeah,
Since ever, there was intertribal war amongst all Native Americans. That is just a irrefutable fact.
well,
It is in their history, and it is also in our history of colonists noting of what they are seeing these Native Americans do, and it is going in, killing women and children, and doing horrific shit to each other. It's just historical fact. And so they want to sell you this bullshit. And my problem is, no, let us acknowledge this. Colonists did some fucked up shit to Native Americans. Native Americans did some fucked up shit to colonists. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to change history to change in accordance with how you feel now. No. Intertribal war was very common. It happened all the time. And to say that it was the white man who came in and introduced the concept of war is absolutely asinine. But yeah, let's go ahead and close route.
Well, I was actually going to bring up, since it just happened, as in
Oh.
2 days ago, the fact of the Game Awards.
Oh yeah.
Just a simple thing that just came
Yeah.
up is that something that everybody who played the game knew was going to happen, but so many people who don't even know what the game is. Baldur's Gate 3
Yeah.
won Game of the Year,
Baldur's Gate 3.
along with 6 awards. Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, any of those. Amazing. The Spider-Man 2 didn't win anything.
Yep.
Just want to point that out because
Well, most AAA titles coming out were not actually great this year.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll actually let's dive. We're gonna talk about next week because we'll have Oscar and Cornet on, and those are also very heavy gamers.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have them on. We'll talk about
Cornet doesn't
the first thing.
doesn't game.
He MMO
He,
RPGs.
he does actually game. He
drinks.
just doesn't play multiplayer games with
yeah.
us.
But we'll talk about that next podcast with everybody.
Oh,
We'll do a video game sort of schniz bit.
And maybe talk about everybody playing some Lethal Company.
Oh yeah, Lethal Company would be fun. But yeah,
We'll
anyway.
probably stream that on the Twitch.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll be streaming that on the Twitch. Thank you all so much for listening. And as always, have a good one.
This is the outro music.